Hello, welcome to Face to Face with me. I'm Daisy, and we're in a program that brings the world to your screen and where we meet people who make a difference to our lives. Now, in this episode, we look at ways on how companies and organizations could actually improve their performance and achieve their target. Now, having a vision, mission, and strategy, these are all very important elements for a company to succeed, and yet actually executing those strategies is something that many companies actually fail at. I talked to Harvard business professor and author of The Balanced Scorecard, a book that is used by many companies around the world in order to measure their success and performance on what are the ways to make companies able to execute their strategies much more effectively. So join me with Robert S. Kaplan here on Face to Face with Daisy Anwar. To be effective and successful in reaching the goal is what people, companies, and organizations strive to do. But in order to achieve the desired result, first of all, we need to know how to do it. Once we've worked out our objectives, the next step, therefore, is to actually put plan into action, words into deeds. Not surprisingly, many companies and organizations find that executing strategies as one of their weaknesses. Getting a whole team of people to know what to do, how to do it, and making sure that things are done in the right way, as well as getting the results, however, is not as easy as it sounds. Measuring our performance and ensuring our actions are in line with our objectives require practical tools to keep us on the right track. One of the most popular tools is the Balanced Scorecard by management guru Robert S. Kaplan, used by companies the world over to measure their and their employees' performance. But what exactly is the Balanced Scorecard, and how does it relate to aligning execution with strategy? And how could companies improve their overall performance? What better way to get the answers than talking to the Harvard Business School professor and author of many popular management books, Robert Kaplan himself. Hello, Professor.
Hello. Nice to see you, Daisy.
Nice to see you. Thanks for coming and talking to me, and I've got plenty of questions surrounding your book, so perhaps we could sort of sit down and talk about some of the things you've written, particularly the last, your latest book, The Execution Premium. Now, the Balanced Scorecard, I mean, I've noted that some Indonesian companies have been using it as a tool to measure the company performance and also how to strategize their leadership. Now, your Execution Premium, what's interesting is that the problem is not just in the strategy, but actually in executing those strategies for companies. Could you sort of...
Well, we found that even companies that had good strategies did not get results from those strategies. And there's various surveys done and said up to 80% of companies fell short in achieving the targets they established in their strategies.
80%?
80%. And they said it wasn't like the strategy was bad, they just couldn't execute on the strategy. They couldn't implement it to get the results they wanted.
And what are the main problems? What are the root causes of the failure to implement?
We did some surveys, and so we came up with 4 principal reasons. One is we asked companies, how many of your employees really know what the strategy is? And the answer that comes back is about 5%. And so this is a huge problem, because even though a senior executive team led by a CEO can select a strategy, strategies don't get implemented in the executive office. They get implemented by employees, the people who are interacting with customers, improving processes, developing new products and services. And if the people who are doing all that work don't know what the strategy is, then it's not a surprise that companies have trouble implementing, especially new strategies where they want to go in another direction. Second barrier was the incentive plans. So even managers who know what the strategy is, if you look at how they're being rewarded, they're being rewarded based on short-term financial performance. And one of the things we've learned is that if you want to implement the strategy, you have to invest in your people, you have to invest in innovation, you have to invest in customers. But in the short run, all of that type of spending hurts your profit and loss statement. And so managers who have incentives to deliver short-term profits, compromise and cut back on spending on their people and innovation and customers, and so they never get to really implement the strategy.
So can I go back to that first reason, because the employees fail perhaps because they couldn't understand the strategy?
Well, it's not that they couldn't understand and no one ever told them.
So what is the problem here? Is it a communication failure?
Well, I think many executives don't realize that how important communication is. And so our experience, of the companies that really did this well, they did a huge amount of communication. I mean, we have this saying, you have to communicate 7 times, 7 different ways. I mean, you can't just tell them once. And so those companies and that executive team gets it. But many CEOs, they don't want to tell the employees, my God, maybe the competitor would find out, and so they're afraid to tell them what the strategy is, or they're not very good communicators. But the problem then is that you don't get to really succeed with your strategy.
And the communication is part of being a good leader at the end of the day.
Absolutely. I mean, it's almost like the #1 dimension of leadership is communication.
So in your book, how do you address some of these problems and how to communicate to the employees so that they could understand the strategies to begin with? I mean, with some of the companies that have kind of succeeded in implementing their strategies, what do you see as the key sort of
we
indicators
described
of it?
that when I say 7 times, 7 different ways. You post it on the internet. They actually want to hear it from the CEO with videos. You can put it in the magazine. One of the companies that I studied, actually even after we finished the book, they actually every month had a cartoon, just a 4-panel cartoon that had some aspect of the strategy, with people talking about the strategy, so that every month the employees were hearing about that. And that's great, because that meant they had to know what the balanced scorecard was, they had to know, be able to explain it, how it describes the strategy, and also how it linked to their everyday actions. So it's something as simple as what questions you ask tells a lot to the employees.